gonna do what it's gonna do. All right, well, it looks like it's about that time, so we'll go ahead and get started. Hopefully everybody with bees have seen their bees out flying. I know I've seen mine. How many have seen their bees flying? All right, cool. We got it. Great. All right, well, it's our first meeting for 2026. Of course, January was on January 1st, and I took a quick survey, and nobody wanted to be here New Year's Day. So today we're honored. We have our bee inspector. I always want to call him Jason, but it's Jacob Bates. I affectionately refer to these guys as the bee police, but they're really not. They're really here to help everybody in Arkansas. So without further ado, we'll turn it over.
All right, I'll have to try to operate this and
Should be able to
talk too. So
Oh yeah, should be able to
just hit enter.
right here.
Usually enter works.
You can hit
Okay,
enter, it should work.
that'll work. All right. All right, we're going to talk today about Arkansas apiary laws and regulations, and just an overview of all of our laws and regulations, and we're going to touch on a couple other pests and stuff as well. So there's my contact information. As he said, my name is Jacob Bates. I live in Charleston, Arkansas, so I'm close to y'all, but I cover the whole north half of Arkansas for the Department of Agriculture. My cell phone number there is the best way. I brought some cards as well, so you can take those as well, but you can put that in your phone, put my number in there. And our emails have changed. It's now at arkansas.gov, so you don't have to type all the agriculture. We haven't got updated cards yet. All right, so our apiary section mission is to protect honeybees in order to maintain viable honeybee populations for the purpose of pollination in Arkansas by two methods. The first is by administering laws and regulations in order to minimize and slow the spread and negative effects of diseases, harmful pests, and unwanted species. And the second is by educating beekeepers in modern apicultural techniques and the citizens of Arkansas the importance of honeybees. And this was our fiscal 24 year apiary summary. I haven't got last year's results yet, but in that year we did 4,289 active registered beekeepers with 6,981 registered apiaries, containing a total of 64,440 colonies. And a total of 8,889 colonies were visited that year, and out of those, 1,515 colonies were inspected. We registered 233 new beekeepers that year, and we instructed 937 beekeepers. And we had 12 cases of European foul brood, 5 cases of brood parasitic mite syndrome, 19 cases of varroa, and 38 cases of small hive beetles. And on that varroa and small hive beetle, pretty much every colony has varroa. I would say every colony. But those were the ones that were so bad we could see mites crawling on frame, so we note that they've got a major infestation. We had 18 swarm traps out in the state. And we checked those traps 127 times, and we caught 9 swarms, and none of them were Africanized, so that's good. Africanized. That's what we check them for. There's our website. It's agriculture.arkansas.gov. And then when you go there, you want to click on the regulatory section, which the website's been updated. I got to get a new slide for this, but you still want to click on regulatory section, and it'll take you to Plant Industries. And you want to click on apiary, and then it'll have information. Asian giant hornet information is outdated now because it's been declared eradicated now, so that's good news. But if you scroll down the page, you'll see bee yard registration form and a bunch of other information about the apiary. It'll actually have the whole list of Arkansas apiary laws as well as other things that are good for Arkansas beekeepers. So it's good to check that out. Apiary registration. Every person owning, leasing, or possessing bees shall within 10 days after coming into ownership or possession of bees or before moving bees from outside the state of Arkansas into Arkansas, file with the board an application for registration. And no person can place bees on property other than his or her own within 3 miles of a registered written area without the written permission of the landowner. So if you don't own the land you want to put the bees on, you need to get a letter from that landowner saying that they want bees for pollination purposes. Sign that letter, have them sign and date that letter, and send it in with your bee yard registration form, which is right here. And I brought some you don't want to print them off, and then it'll be approved. Otherwise, if you don't have permission, we have to ask every beekeeper around you in a 3-mile radius if they approve, and if one person denies you, then you can't put bees there. But if you have the letter, you're good to go. So the form's pretty simple to fill out. It's name, address, phone number, email, and you click or check if you're a registered or new beekeeper. And then you want to put, it'll be Benton County if you live up here, your bee yard, and then how many colonies you have. You don't have to worry about the range number and township number. We just need GPS coordinates, which I'll show you how to get those. And then you'll circle type of yard. Most people, it's permanent. The bees will be there year round. And the owner of the land, put the name of the landowner. If it's you, put yes or your name or whatever. And then the apiary name or number. So most people just put home, but if you have multiple bee yards, it's good to name them. So whenever you call me and say, I need my bees inspected, I say, well, which yard do you want to go to? And you tell me the name and I can find it a lot faster than having to decipher everything. So, but if you want to find your bee yard registration, the coordinates for GPS, you just right click on Google Maps, or if you're on your phone, you can double tap and it'll drop those coordinates there. So it'll be those top numbers, 34 point, etc. So if you ever have any questions filling that thing out, just give me a call. I'll help you. Happy to help you do it. Inspection. Only beekeepers moving bees or transferring ownership are required to get an inspection. So if you just want to get bees and your yard is registered, you don't want to sell them, move them, or give them away, I don't have to come out there. But I'm available if you need me to. If you think you got a problem or something like that, we can try to figure out what's going on with your bees. But you're required to get an inspection if you're moving or getting rid of them. It shall be the duty of all.
Does that apply to like mail order bees? Like if you were to get a package?
Normally they're considered, like if you're getting them in, and if usually the places you're getting them from has a health certificate come with them. If not, they're considered quarantined until I come and inspect them in Arkansas. If you move bees from outside of the state, so you always want to make sure they have health papers with them. It shall be the duty of all persons engaged in beekeeping to provide movable frames in all hives used by them to contain bees, and to cause the bees in such hives to construct brood combs in such frames so that any of the said frames may be removed from the hive without injuring other combs in the hive. So you don't want to have a bee scap. You want to have removable frames, because if you ever had bee hive and you left a couple frames out, you know what a mess they make, and you have to tear it all apart, and the bees do not like that, and most of the time will abscond. So this way we can get in there and look at them without hurting them. So no person shall sell, offer for sale, give away, or otherwise transfer ownership of any colony of bees, or queen bees without first receiving from the board a certificate of health issued not more than 6 months prior to the disposition. A copy of the certificate shall be issued by the seller or given to the purchaser or person receiving the colony at time of delivery. So if you buy bees from somebody in Arkansas and they can't produce you a health certificate, be sure and let me know, because that means they haven't been inspected. So we want to make sure everybody's following the law on that. Apiary identification. Each apiary location, whether permanent or temporary, shall be identified by promptly displaying the owner's registration number at the site. This number may be displayed on one or more hives or on a readily visible sign placed within 10 feet of the hives. So those are how I mark my boxes, and that's a pretty cool bee yard sign. Has a camera on it too, so that's pretty neat. And registration and inspection in Arkansas are all free, so that's a good deal. Here's our links and contacts. There's our website address. Zach Wellman's email, he's my boss. Amanda Smith, she's our admin. She does all the work. We just look at bees. She takes care of all your bee yard registrations and all the inspections and all those forms for us. And then my email, and then my Southern Inspector John Martin's email, my coworker there, and our phone numbers as well. The main office phone number's up top, and then John and Zach's numbers there as well. Everybody got that? All right, new invasive species that has been found in the USA, which you probably already heard about, and the one that's really good to be on the lookout for. Who's all heard about the yellow-legged hornet? So these are in America now. They're in Georgia and South Carolina currently, and they seem to not be able to contain them. So hopefully it'll be a long time before they get here, but it is America and it is the USA and it is the way the world travels now. So they got here from Asia, so who knows how long it'll be. So be on the lookout for anything suspicious and let us know if you can get a specimen or a good clear picture, that's the best. But just keep an eye on your hive, especially in the fall. They bee hawk, so they're set up above, kind of like a European hornet does, swoop down, and they can wipe out a colony really fast. They're not much bigger than they're a little bit smaller than a European hornet. I have one out in the truck, I think. Let me go. When I get done, I'll bring it in here and we can look at it. But this was the year in 24. That's how many nests they found. And this year, it's not good either. So there's a comparison between those and the yellow-legged and the European hornet. If you notice, the European hornet, I call them paint runs or teardrops on the abdomen, and the yellow-legged hornet doesn't. And those telltale signs, those yellow legs they have. But the northern giant hornet, the murder hornet as the media calls it, has been eradicated, so that's good. This is the new issue that we have coming along. It's not yet been found in the USA, but it's spreading very fast, reported, and it's now have been confirmed in Russia and Ukraine, in that area of the world, so it's in Europe now. There's still a lot of unknowns on how they live in cold climates. They were thought to only survive in the tropics, but they don't. They can survive everywhere. But if you notice, they're a lot smaller than varroa mite. And their biology is a little different too. So there's that first report. That's where they're at. They're kind of around the Black Sea, north of Turkey and Russia, bordering Ukraine. All right, I must have got that slide out of the way. So this is the difference in behavior. See, can y'all see on the screen those tiny little things? They spend most of their time on the brood. They go phoretic for maybe 24 hours, unlike varroa that can go for a long time. They prefer brood over bees, but they can stay alive on bees as well. But that's their different feeding habits there. All right, so what to expect when we come and inspect? What are we looking for in your colonies? We always look for the good. Good is good. We want to see that. We want healthy bees in Arkansas. So this is a typical frame. If you're a new beekeeper, you've probably never seen one that looks like this, or if you've not had bees yet, or if you're an experienced beekeeper, you'll know what that is. So at the top, you got your honey and your pollen usually, and then all that brown quilted pattern, that's worker brood, and then drone brood. Usually if we're seeing drone brood, it means it's early spring, and it means that colony's healthy. They're wanting to reproduce or swarm. So drones are not a bad thing, as most people think they are. And we want to see good cap brood like that, good solid pattern with plenty of food. Another good frame. And a good population of bees usually means they're doing what they need to do and they're healthy. So the not so good, a spotty brood pattern, it can be caused by several things. A failing queen, hygienic behavior. Some bees are hygienic. Workers will pull diseased brood or mites from the cells, and other honeybee diseases can cause this spotty brood pattern. Varroa mites, we know every colony has them, but if you're a new beekeeper or if you've never done a mite wash and you want us to do one for you, we can do one and show you how it's done and get you a good mite count there. So that's the varroa mite life cycle. A varroa reproduce in capped worker brood and drone brood cells. Mature female mites, called mother mites or foundresses, enter cells just prior to capping. The foundress starts feeding on the brood within 6 hours of the cells being sealed, and feeding occurs regularly thereafter. The site on the larva where the foundress pierces the cuticle to feed becomes a feeding area for her offspring as well. And the first egg she lays develops into a male. And the second egg develops into a female that mates with the male mite that was first laid. The foundress mite feeds on the developing larva and can transmit several different viruses in the process. In worker brood, foundress mites produce 1 to 2 mated daughter mites. In drone brood, which takes longer to mature, 2 to 3 mated daughters can be produced. When the bee is fully developed and emerges from capped cell, the foundress mite and her daughters emerge and attach to adult bees. Mites on the adult bees are called phoretic mites. Most commonly, phoretic mites attach to young worker bees tending a developing brood. Example, nurse bees, what we call nurse bees, are the target of phoretic mites because the bees remain in the brood area and can serve as a vehicle to transport mites to brood cells. Phoretic mites can feed on adult bees, but when a brood cell of suitable age is found, the mite will detach and enter the cell to reproduce. Mites will enter and reproduce in worker brood, but preferentially enter drone brood if it's available. So that's kind of their life cycle. If you think of how many cells there are in a frame of honeycomb, there's a lot of mites can be born in just a short time. And there's varroa mite up close with a microscope. Ugly little things. If you're seeing mites on the backs of your bees, you've got a major infestation because they usually are on their side. You can't really see them unless you do a mite wash. And that's basically the Varroa life cycle, and that's a good tool to have if you don't have one. Varroa Easy Check, that makes mite washes really easy. And some of the viruses, this is what really gets the bees down. It's the viruses transmitted by the mites, and this one is deformed wing virus. So you've noticed there's plenty of normal wing bees, but you see this one, its wings are all crumpled and deformed. That bee won't live a couple days, if that long. But that affects the whole colony, and it really weakens their whole system. That's usually what causes, if you're seeing deformed wing virus, you have a high mite load, and that hive is on its way out. But there's a difference between a healthy bee emerging and one with deformed wing virus. And you can actually see an immature mite. Any immature mite that emerges with the bee dies. They don't reproduce. They can't because they haven't fully molted into an adult, so they all die. But anything that emerges as an adult can still reproduce, like those two on the back of that bee. And that's some brood parasitic mite syndrome too. It looks really close to European foul brood, but they don't really have the same, they don't turn the same colors, but they do get, we call it snotty brood. They get real white and snotty and sometimes yellow. Excuse me. And if you see on this one, see the varroa mite on the larva, yeah, that one's definitely got some brood parasitic mite syndrome. But it really causes a bad brood pattern usually when they're heavily infested with mites. There's another picture of it. And this is kind of the Randy Oliver's when might need to treat, or you at least need to be checking. I would say you need to check your bees for mites at least quarterly, but monthly would be even better. Stay on top of them because you keep them mite free, they can make a lot of honey. There's different tools out there to treat them with. Honeybee Health Coalition is a great website to go to, honeybeehealthcoalition.org. They got all kinds of stuff on here like the Varroa management decision tool. If you want to be, no synthetic chemicals or whatever, you put the inputs in there how you want to treat, and it'll give you what your options are. So it's pretty neat. And then we always find small hive beetles, especially in August, late summer. They really were high. That's the time of year they're trying to reproduce. Usually not a big pest unless you have a really weak or freshly dead out colony, and then you have a problem. So if you can find those dead outs as fast as you can in the summertime, or a weak colony, and combine them down, you can really prevent some of this. But if you find a dead out, we want to put that frames at least in the freezer for at least a week, I think. Everybody used to say 3 days, but I've seen those hive beetle larvae come back to life after being frozen for a few days. So I'd say freeze them longer.
So if you freeze your frame with the beetles,
yeah,
will it do anything for the mites that are on the?
Oh, it'll kill everything. Yeah. And also, if they have slimed it out, you know how bees usually will not touch it if the beetles have already slimed the honey. If you freeze it for at least a week or so, you can give that back to a strong colony, and they'll use it because it kills that yeast that the mites extrude whenever they're eating all that stuff, and the bees will actually work that comb again. So don't just throw it away even if it's a slimy mess. You just might want to put it if you're putting it in a good freezer, I'd put it in a trash bag first. American foulbrood, luckily we haven't found a case in that in over 8 years, so let's keep that up. That's the bad one. So it's a fatal bacterial disease of honeybee brood caused by spore-forming bacterium Pinna-Bacillus larvae. It is not a stress-related disease and can infect the strongest to the weakest colony in an apiary. Infected brood usually die at the prepupal or pupal stage, meaning after the cells have been capped. Heavy infestations can affect most of the brood, severely weakening the colony and eventually killing it. And this disease is not able to be cured, meaning that the destruction of infected colonies and hives or irradiation of infected material is the only way to manage AFB. Although AFB is not highly contagious, bacterial spores can be easily spread between hives and apiaries through beekeeping practices such as through the exchange of equipment and the movement of infected combs. Adult bees are not affected by AFB, but can spread spores within and between infected and clean hives through robbing and drifting. AFB spores can remain viable for 50 years and are very resistant to freezing and high temperatures. Therefore, the only way to manage the disease is to stop infections from occurring through adopting beekeeping best management practices, and if AFB outbreak does occur, quickly dealing with it before additional colonies become infected. So this is why we register our hives priority number one, because if there is an outbreak of AFB and I don't know your bees are down the road from there, then I can't notify you to be on the lookout, or we make sure it's not spreading, because we don't want that stuff to spread. Nobody wants that. Here's a frame of AFB. You can see the scale that's up on that highlighted part. Usually if you buy old comb, you always want to inspect it for that. If you see any of that scale, that's because that's what it is dead larvae that the bees have a hard time removing from the colonies with AFB. So that has spores in it, so that would infect a brand new colony if you gave them a comb that was from an AFB colony. So we don't want to do that. And you also can do the rope test. If you have a fresh case, you can stick a toothpick down there and it'll rope out a lot further than European foulbrood will, as you can see up there. So European foulbrood, it's a reportable disease, and since 2017, you now must have a veterinary feeding directive or a VFD to be able to purchase the medication for treatment. So I would encourage you to know who your vet is before you have an issue. If caught early, the prognosis is good with treatment. And you cannot have honey supers on during treatment. And we had 12 cases of foulbrood were seen last season in Arkansas, and I think we had more than that now. That was outdated information. So European foulbrood is a bacterium that infects the midgut of bee larvae. European foulbrood is considered less serious than American foulbrood. EFB is not a spore-forming bacterium, but bacterial cells can survive for several months on wax foundation. Symptoms include dead and dying larvae, which can appear curled upwards, brown or yellow, melted or deflated, with tracheal tubes more apparent, or dried out and rubbery. European foulbrood is often considered a stress disease, dangerous only if the colony is under stress for other reasons. An otherwise healthy colony can survive European foulbrood. Chemical treatment may control an outbreak of disease, but honey from the treated colonies could have chemical residues from the treatment and cannot be used for human consumption. And the label is a law on that, as all, it'll say on there, honey supers must be removed before you treat them, because we don't want antibiotics in our food chain for sure. So if you notice, it's transmitted by contaminated bee bread within the colony. So if you see healthy brood fruit up there, nice white and shiny, contaminated, it's kind of yellow, and that's also what color the larva does. And if you see a brood pattern like that, you've definitely got some kind of issue. It could be mites, it could be some other virus, but it also could be most commonly as European foulbrood. that's a telltale sign that the colony is very sick, and most of the baby bees are dying before they're born. Oops, I think I went too far. And there's another frame up close, so you can see the larvae that should be nice C-shaped are all twisted and curled and dying. And there's one that the tracheal tubes are more apparent. Another picture. That one looked pretty good until you really got to, it's hard to see from the pictures, but it was sick too. But that one definitely had some problems. And we're still trying to get our test kits back. The company that made them, I guess they couldn't sell them directly to America anymore. And then we finally found where we could get them, and then they had something to do with a supply chain issue with one of their ingredients. So hopefully this year we'll get those tests. They're pretty good. They're just kind of a secondary backup, especially if we have a beekeeper that, is kind of nervous that we're saying they got something. So it helps just confidence. But they're pretty good. If we can still get them again, they're good to keep in your own apiary, just for you, in case you see something that looks funny. You can always test them, and you'll know better that way. So once we're all said and done, if whatever we find, healthy or not healthy, we mark on our inspection report and have you sign it, and then we'll send it off, and you'll get your health certificate if they're not quarantined. So other services that we do the National Honeybee Survey, the Survey of Honeybee Pests and Diseases, and this is a nationwide thing. We do 24 surveys in Arkansas each year, so we split them up between the north and the south part. So the requirements to do this, you must have a minimum of 10 colonies, and you must be willing to sacrifice a half a cup of bees from each of the 8 colonies that we survey. So it's basically doing a mite wash, because you'll get excuse me, you'll get Varroa counts back, you'll get Nosema counts, you'll get a whole panel of all the different viruses that those bees are going on in that apiary. Trying to think. If you do a longitudinal survey, which is one we come twice a year, we only do like 4 of those in the state, or maybe 6, but you'll get pesticide results on that too, from either the wax samples or the bee bread that we take care of. So it's pretty neat. It don't cost nothing to you. So a lot of information. There's me doing another survey. There's me scooping the bees off the frame, because basically what we'll do, we'll take a frame and we'll make sure the queen ain't on there. It has open brood, and then we shake the bees off, and then so you're basically like you would do for a mite wash, except we're sending them off for way more information. I was taking, I believe, bee bread samples that year. And if you ever get a chance to go, I think it's still around the 26th or 27th this year. I have to look back, but toward the end of September, if you go to arkansasbeekeepers.org, it'll be on there. The State Beekeeping Conference, so that's pretty cool for people to go. All right, I think that was it. All right, any questions?
I read that the honeybees are on the endangered species list.
Yeah, I haven't. I've saw something on the internet, but I don't know. I've never seen nothing official about that. Yeah.
Okay, if I have an apiary registered at the state, and I have another piece of property, say in a couple counties over, can I transfer bees and say it's the same apiary, or do I have to get another one for that piece of property?
Yeah, every property needs to have a registration. And if you're going to move bees between those yards, they need to be inspected. That's good for a year. Selling's only good for 6 months, but yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So if I have, even if my neighbor says that I can put a hive on them, I have to get a waiver or a letter from them saying
That they want to, your bees for pollination. Yeah.
What if we know someone has established a couple of hives and they're not registered? Do we have any responsibility that way?
You can call me and I'll go and have a talk with them and get them registered. So, because it is a law in Arkansas.
Are you counting how many hives are in the apiary also on forms?
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
How does that work with like dead outs in spring? Like how
Usually,
close are you trying to be on any of that?
yeah, just whenever, if I came to your bee yard and I'll be like, how many colonies you have, and we'll count the live ones basically, go from there. Yeah.
Are there any online classes that you suggest for those wanting to like begin the beekeeping journey?
The one Dr. John Zvishlock does, the U of A, it's a good one. It's free. It's on YouTube, I believe.
So if I call and I say I need an inspection, is that tomorrow, is that?
Whenever we try to work around your schedule and our schedules, yeah. Spring, summer, yeah. So if you want a spring inspection, we typically prioritize those early spring ones to all the people selling bees. And then, if you're just a new beekeeper or something, usually I inspect the bees that are going to be sold in spring, and then I re-inspect them because the new beekeepers get them and they want to, just have another set of eyes, see how they're doing. So sometimes I get to see the same bees twice, but yeah. But yeah, that's you just give a call and we'll get it scheduled.
How late in the fall do you don't do winter inspections, right?
Not unless a beekeeper wants to. Not many people want to open their bees in the winter. Sometimes we've done it before if we had to, had an emergency or somebody's wanting to move or something, get a warm day. But normally I start in February, which it's starting to warm back up, but it all depends on the weather.
I'm a new beekeeper, I just started out, and say, if I get my bees in the spring, would you come like, if I wanted you to come in the summer, midsummer, and look at them and inspect them, would you do something like that?
Yeah, we can. Yeah, that's usually what I do, get new beekeepers that, trying to figure out what they're doing or make sure you're not messing up, so get another set of eyes. That's part of my job, so. Yep.
You have a question about the number of hives. Once you're registered, you have to keep that up as to how many hives you.
I mean, if you want to, you can just text me or whatever, but usually we re-update that whenever we come to an inspection. We know beekeepers going to go up and down. It's just part of that, but yeah.
So your inspections, are they just requests, or do you just look at your list and go, I think I'll go here?
No, it's requests. I got everybody's schedule whenever they call in. First come, first serve. So, and then of course we prioritize. Anybody selling bees first. So, don't want to leave them hanging. So.
Is that something we should do yearly, or is there like a timetable on how often we should do it?
Well, usually we try to limit everybody to twice a year, but most time we only see them once a year. But if you're not going to sell your bees or move them, you don't have to have an inspection. But like I said, if you just have some problems, then call me, or if you're just a new beekeeper and want me to come check it out, that's fine too. I do that a lot. So.
Explain again the certificate of health for packaged bees. That comes with the package.
It should, yeah.
It's like a piece of paper that comes along.
Well, a lot of your big companies will have it like on your invoice. Especially if you're getting it from California. Yeah. Local nukes, they should have I don't know if they could put it on there, but most beekeepers, if they've been inspected, they should have the health certificate to give you.
On the invoice as well, or actually
They usually just hand it to you. Yeah.
When I go to my niece, they had to verify I wanted to see or if I wanted the copy. I didn't want to ask for it, it was right there. Access. Yeah, they had access. But the package, every package I've ever got has had it right on the package. With the ship over.
Yeah.
Is there rules for putting swarm traps out?
Nope.
Any other questions?
Can we get a copy of your slides, or is that online somewhere that we can go to?
No, but I can leave a copy if you need them. But yeah,
If you want, we can copy it to my hard drive and I'll.
yeah, that's fine.
Just watch it on YouTube. They posted it.
Yeah, it'll be on Facebook. So
There you go.
that'd be easier.
So do you visit a lot of bee organizations?
Yeah,
Or
yeah, all across the state. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, Gladys and I were at that, saw beekeeper in the fall, and saw, is it John? Yeah. John.
Yeah,
Saw John
yeah,
Beatty.
yeah. Yeah,
That's
you.
what gave me the idea of reaching out.
Yeah. Yeah, I was going to go there this year, but I've got prior arrangements again this year, so I don't know if I'll make it this year or not. But it's a good one.
We went last year.
Yep. All right.
All right, well,
Turn
thank
it
you
back.
very much.
Thank you.
Appreciate you.
Yeah.
Oh, I really don't have anything. Were we gonna talk about the voting?
You need to do voting and then maybe talk about
talked, what you talked about, announcements, things to do, it's really basic. And that's all there is.
Okay. Did you say the vice president as well was leaving? Or did somebody say that?
Well, I did, he hasn't been here in a year.
Well, yeah, I know he hadn't been around, but I didn't know if he was.
Don't know.
I just thought with two Brians, maybe he thought it was a little confusing,
Yeah.
so he figured, but, of course, he's spelling it with an I, so. Gonna have to lie.
So I see a lot of excitement.
And just to throw another cog in there, I'm probably gonna be leaving as president sometime in the next 6 months or so.
Super.
So, but I've officially been a year now, because January was the first meeting.
Yeah.
Or January is when we had our discussions. So,
When does it need to be decided, like tonight or?
well, that's what I'm wondering, does it have to be December? Because I know we discussed it before the holidays, and then we kind of ran into the holidays, and then, of course, January we didn't meet, so do we want to let people think about it and shoot for next month or something?
I think that's totally fine.
I think that would be a better idea.
Okay.
Better idea.
Um,
And while we're on the subject, we are gonna have March's meeting on the Wednesday night, is that correct?
yes. So there was a bit of a scheduling mishap with the room. So several months this year, instead of being able to meet Thursday like we do, we have to meet Wednesday instead.
But that definitely applies to March.
March is the
Our
first
next
time that's
meeting.
gonna happen. Now, obviously, not everyone can make every time that's gonna happen, but we do have all of our recordings and everything. If you can't make it, but we'd still love to have you here if you can on Wednesday. But I'll send out all the Facebook and email notifications reminding us it's Wednesday, not Thursday.
Will you post that on the website?
Yes, I'll update the calendars there too.
So March 4th, right?
Yes.
Yeah, the March meeting will be the Wednesday night instead of.
Okay.
Yeah.
That'd be awesome. That'd be
And
awesome.
I won't be able to make it because I work Wednesday nights.
Yeah.
Somebody else will have. But Gladys will still get the key.
Okay. Maybe we'll talk about something like splits or installing. How many people will be doing bees for the first time this year? 1, 2, 3. Maybe we'll talk about installing packages and splits. Since that will be coming up real soon after that for everyone.
When do the bees usually arrive, like in Arkansas?
I'm gonna say May.
May, okay. Well, I ordered mine from Cassville, so
Yeah.
it's not too far.
Sometimes you can get one in late April, but usually it's May. Sometimes really late May.
When we got ours, it was the first week of April.
Yeah.
That was from Hawkeye.
Okay.
Hawkeye.
Class? Online class?
Yeah, you want
Yeah.
to talk about the online class?
So a while ago, I brought up the idea of making our own online beekeeping class because we used to do an in-person class, but then we could never get it scheduled, and there were always great debates about how long should it be and what should be in it and all the things. So decided maybe try an online one so it would just always be there. And I took that on, and I've been plugging away at it for a while. It's actually been kind of done for almost a year, and I just didn't do anything with it. But I did send it out to everyone that gets our emails. You got a link to it. It is free for all of our members. It's in its roughest condition ever because no one's seen it yet, but you are welcome to use the class if you want as a resource. We tried it, I'll say I tried to because no one told me what to do, I just did what I wanted. We tried to cover everything you needed for your first year of beekeeping. So some of the material about you have to register your apiary, that's in there. Where you can buy bees, how do you install a nuke or a package, how do you do inspections, all the equipment, how do you light a smoker, all that stuff's in there. How do you harvest honey the first time? What's your calendar like? All that's supposed to be in there. How do you do a mite wash? All of it's there. That doesn't mean it's perfect, but it's something we wanted to provide all of our members as a resource since most new people.
When did you email it?
I've sent out 2 emails this week.
I have signed up for the emails, but I've not received anything.
Oh, I'll have to check into that.
Okay.
Okay. If you could, give me your email address. and I'll make sure you're,
Okay.
one way or another, that you're in there, but it'll help me troubleshoot if something's gone wrong with the registration process. There is, of course, the University of Arkansas class that is
Yeah.
available.
If you go just to Google the Arkansas beekeeper, and then you can put the name John. This is what I did. Arkansas UAEX John JON classes, and it'll take you right to this link. Yeah, it's excellent material. It is completely free. It goes through everything, and he also has some links to some other good free.
When does this start?
Next week,
It starts next week.
yeah,
Okay.
it's, at 5:30, the Fayetteville Library.
What was the search line again?
I just put in Arkansas, and then I put UAEX, and then his name John JON, and then classes.
It's on, I think, Tuesday night.
Are you talking about an in-person class?
Pardon, yeah, I signed up for it, yeah.
Yeah, and then probably the one through Washington County Beekeepers.
And I took one, I think from Alabama on their website, when I bought my, talking to the lady that I was purchasing the news from, she said she recommended that be something, that course, and I took it, it was really informative too.
Yeah. The good news is a lot of the material you really need to know early on in beekeeping is pretty consistent.
Yeah, I bought several books and I've been reading them.
The things that get a little different would be things like our laws around registering your hives,
Yeah.
things like that, or slight differences in, say, like, you know, like I did my beekeeping stuff in North Carolina through North Carolina State University. And their recommendations on when you should do things is a bit different than when we would want to do them, even though we're not so different apart. It just works out that way.
And that's what's nice about Dr. John's class, because it's for Arkansas. I mean,
Yeah.
Yeah.
in Arkansas, he's down in Fayetteville. So this is kind of, he breaks it down into all these different parts. And
I got way more than that, man.
yeah, it's pretty easy. It's also got the printable handouts.
I got none of that. It's pretty. So yeah, it's available. I'm happy to make sure everyone has access to it. If you think something should be there, it's not explained well, happy to tweak it, but it's just something I wanted to provide all of our members. But if we're not around in 6 months, we'll just be around anyway.
Thank you, that's great.
So it's a good thing. Any other questions or comments or anything anybody needs to talk about? How's everybody's bees doing that are alive?
They were busy today. They were out.
Yeah. Mine were out all over the place. One flew right in my ear.